Hello BookTube, welcome back to my 2026 library tour. Today I'm going to be talking about this bookcase behind me, this first shelf. You might be wondering why there is some space on this shelf if it is the first shelf. That's because a few weeks ago I moved down the books in my fiction, poetry, and drama collection. I had a spout of mental dissatisfaction, so I did that. Once this library tour is over, I'm going to be moving the fiction, poetry, and drama section forward a bookcase. I do have a bookcase right here in front of me that is completely empty that I'm currently using to film on. And so what I did was when I moved the books down, I started at the very end and then worked my way forward. So that gave this a little extra space. There's also another area where this will pop up. But anyway, let's get on with the books. So first is Watership Down by Richard Adams. This is a classic work about a warren of rabbits looking for a new home as their original home is destroyed by human development. Next is The Aristeia by Aeschylus. Translated from the Ancient Greek by Robert Fagles. This includes Agamemnon, the libation bearers, and the Eumenides. Classic work of Greek drama. I've read it a long time ago and quite enjoyed it, but well overdue for a reread. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. This is a classic American drama about two professors and their wives who are having a after party drinks together, and during this mini party the two couples reveal just how dysfunctional they are. It's a wild ride of a play. This is the second time I've had a copy of this play. I originally bought a copy about 20 years ago now when I first went to Portland, Oregon. And as luck would have it, while I did not actually travel to Portland to pick up this copy of the play, it also comes from Portland because I ordered it from Pals. The earlier copy I had, I actually picked up from a bookstore that wasn't Pals. Although during that trip to Portland, I went to Pals at least twice, maybe more than twice. So. Next is this volume of poetry, Kindy by Dan Albergotti. This is from LSU, and I bought it a few years ago during LSU's yearly year-end sale. It's a pretty good collection, although it took me a little bit to get into it. The Book Center's Library by Bouthena El Essa, translated from the Arabic by Renia Abdelrahman and Sawad Hussein. So this novel was a finalist for last year's National Book Award in Translated Literature. Have not gotten around to it yet, though. Celestial Bodies by Juga El-Harthi, translated from the Arabic by Marilyn Booth. And this won the International Booker Award shortly after the prize became more like its big sibling, the Booker Prize. Initially, the Booker International Prize was a lifetime achievement award, but more recently, it's become like the main Booker Prize for an individual work published within the eligibility window. Next is The Portable Dante by Dante Alighieri, and it includes the complete Divine Comedy, the new life in short poems and nonfiction selections. I have not dipped into this yet. I had so I picked this copy up from Golden's Book Exchange in Waco. Before that, I had a dual language of The Inferno, which I picked up at a used bookstore or student bookstore. I don't quite remember what the hell it was, in Austin when I went in 2000. Yeah, it would have been the spring of 2000 that I went to Austin when I was in high school. Another slim volume of poetry, although in this case it's selected poems. The Screams of War by Akram al-Katreb, translated from the Arabic by Jonas El-Busti. This is out from Siegel Books, which has a distribution agreement with University of Chicago Press, which is where I bought this volume from, as well as all Siegel published books in my collection. This is a pretty good collection. I rather liked it. Brick Makers by Selva Almada, translated from the Spanish by Annie McDermott. This is an Argentine novel set in a small Argentine city, and it's about two rival families who have been at each other's throats for 2 generations. And ultimately, this rivalry, this conflict, culminates in a double homicide as the son of one family and the older son of another family kill each other when one of the two men discover that his younger brother is the lover of his enemy. And this is that story. And it, I had my issues with it when I first read it, but I think that probably was more I wasn't in the mood for the book rather than the book itself. But I will come back to it at some point. Not sure when. I also have by her Not a River, which is also translated from the Spanish by Annie McDermott. And this was shortlisted, I think, for the International Booker. I'm not entirely sure about Brick Makers, but I know this was shortlisted, I think, for the International Booker Prize in 2024. And this is about a group of men, 2 longtime friends, and the teenage son of a third who had since died, going to a remote part of southern Argentina to go fishing. And they prick the ire of the locals. Hans Andersen's Fairy Tales in a very, very beat up edition. So I picked this up from Golden's Book Exchange. Hmm. Well over 10 years ago. Because I'd intended to get this for a birthday present or a Christmas present for Pestilence, the second of the four children of the apocalypse, and the demon toddler, my nieces and nephews. But I ultimately never did give it to her. And I've kept it all this time and have not myself read it. So, back to 7 volumes of poetry. This is Postcards from the Underworld by Sinan Antoon. Which I don't know if this is translated or if it's... Okay. So, Sinan Antoon himself translates this from the Arabic. And this is a really good collection of poetry. I really enjoyed it. Also from Seagull Books. The Voyage of Argo by Apollonius of Rhodes. So this is a Greek epic that tells the story of the voyage of the Argo, which was built under the orders of a young hero named Jason so that he could accomplish an impossible task, the bringing home of the Golden Fleece from the distant kingdom of Colchis. And it tells of the voyage to Colchis and the voyage back. It took me way too long to finally read this work. And I did that last September. Next is Margaret Atwood, starting with Cat's Eye. So this is about an artist in late middle age, reflecting back on her life. I have unfinished business with this novel. The Robber Bride by Margaret Atwood. I do not have unfinished business with this novel. In fact, I've read this novel at least twice. This is my favorite work by Margaret Atwood. Not that that's saying much because I haven't read much of her work or successfully read much of her work. This is about 3 women who are bound together by the fact that their husbands were involved with a mutual acquaintance named Xenia, who may or may not be an international woman of mystery, or a drug dealer, or who the hell knows. But it is a really good book. I had it for a long time and then got rid of it and was kicking myself for that. One of the weird things about me is I have a weird relationship with fiction, poetry, and drama. But when I get rid of them, when I get rid of those books, they're the ones that I regret getting rid of. Like, I don't regret getting rid of any of the science fiction and fantasy books that I have, even though I'm more drawn historically to science fiction and fantasy, but it's weird. Now, back to some unfinished business with Margaret Atwood, The Blind Assassin. This is about an elderly woman who, in her youth, had a relationship, and she was briefly an author. But it's been a while since I had a go at this, so I'm a bit foggy on the details. It won the Booker Prize, though. Next is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Classic work about love and the urtext of the romance genre. The Harmony Silk Factory by Tash Aw. Um, just recently picked it up from Pals. Well, a huge amount of the books that I have added to my collection over the last few months have been from Pals. Not physically, of course. I ordered them online. On the calculation of volume 1 by Solveig Bale, translated from the Danish by Barbara Haviland. So this is about a woman who is in a time loop. And was longlisted for the Booker Prize last year and International Booker Prize last year, and was, I think, the year before or the year before that was longlisted for the National Book Award. I don't know if it made it to the finalist stage or not. It does not have the little sticker on the cover that lets you know. Speaking of the Booker International, this is Boulder by Eva Baltasar, translated from, I think, the Catalan by Julia Sanchez. And this was shortlisted in 2023. And is about a woman trying to decide whether or not she wants to have a child with her partner. I mean, she herself is very much not interested in having a child. Back to poetry with SOS, Poems 1961 to 2013 by Mary Baraka. So this is a big collection of Baraka's work and is very enjoyable. I really like this collection. It's been way too long since I last read it. The next two collections of poetry are in translation. First is Come Take a Gentle Stab by Salim Barakat, translated from the Arabic by Huda J. Fakhreddin and Jason Ewan. This is fantastic. I love this collection. And I also have another collection of his work, The Universe All at Once. This time translated solo by Huda J. Fakhreddin. And this is really good too. It includes an interview with the poet by the translator. Next is The Parasite by Ferenc Barnes, translated from the Hungarian by Paul Olcsváry. And this is from Siegel. And I don't quite remember what this is about. It's been a while since I added it to my collection. And I really need to get around to it. The next two books are by Julian Barnes, who I just recently added to my collection. First is Talking It Over, which is about a love triangle, not a throuple. And I also have The Sense of an Ending, which won the Booker Prize. Next is The Saltweed Factor by John Barth. This is a classic postmodern novel about a would-be poet coming to the American colonies to work as a saltweed factor, I think. I've had a few goes at this and haven't been successful, so at some point I would like to finish my unfinished business with this novel. I have read by Barth his collection of novellas Chimera, which I picked up 19 years ago. It will be 20 years ago this fall. I picked up a old mass market paperback collection of these novellas. But I've long since gotten rid of it and really wanted a new edition. I would have liked to have had that original mass market paperback back, but good luck with that. So I picked up a more recent edition of it. Haven't gotten back to it yet, though. Next is The Wizard of Oz The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is a classic of children's literature about a young girl named Dorothy who travels beyond the rainbow to a land called Oz. And to return home, she has to capture the broomstick of a wicked witch. Have not read the actual novel. I've seen the film with Judy Garland innumerable times, though. Next is another same volume of poetry, Everyone I Love Alive by Jason Bayani. I read this yesterday, and oh boy, is this a good collection of poetry. Definitely this is good. I cannot wait to talk about it on Weekly Reads and share some poems for Poetry Thursday. This is published by Omnidon, who distributes with the University of Chicago Press. Next is The Octopus Game by Nikki Beer, another same volume of poetry. I picked this up last year for an octopus-themed booktube event in September, and the collection was okay. It didn't really wow me as much as I would have liked. Next is Beowulf by Seamus, or translated from the Old English by Seamus Heaney. We do not know who the original poet was, since it was likely it was I'm blanking on the proper word for it, but there really would have been no identifiable Beowulf poet. So when I was trying to figure out how I wanted to house Beowulf in my collection, when I finally got around to picking up a copy of it, I decided to go with the title of the work itself, rather than A for Anonymous or for Seamus Heaney himself. So this is a classic of English literature. It's the story of a Norwegian hero named Beowulf, who initially travels to Denmark to help a local king there, and has a fight with a monster, and then that monster's mother, and then eventually faces a dragon back home. It's an amazing work. I've read it several times, always in the Norton Anthology of English Literature, which the edition I had included Heaney's translation of Beowulf. But I've long since gotten rid of those anthologies and wanted a copy of my own, so I finally got around earlier this year to adding Beowulf to my collection. And finally, the last book on this shelf is Topsy Turvy by Charles Bernstein. This is, I think, his most recent collection of poetry. Charles Bernstein seems to be a very playful poet, both in subject matter as well as in form. I do need to revisit this collection, though. And it is out from the University of Chicago Press, who have published quite a bit of Bernstein's work. So that is the first shelf of this particular bookcase, if you don't count the top. And in BookTube, I will be back tomorrow with the second shelf of this bookcase, and I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to do that. Do I want to move the computer down a shelf, or do I want to dip down off camera as I pick up the books? The third and fourth shelves of this bookcase and the others, I'm going to be sitting down on the floor for. But I'm not entirely sure what to do with the second shelves because they will kind of sort of be off camera. I'll think about that and you will find out what I decide tomorrow with the next part of my 2026 library tour. So look forward to that, BookTube, and have a great morning.